Hello there, in the previous episode we've learned about map transforming, texturing and lighting. While in today's episode we will take a closer look at materials. While the term materials is somewhat misleading, considering most materials are actually not visible to the player unless in edit mode anyway. Also, materials serve much more purposes instead of just changing the look of something. If you come from other game engines, please do not confuse materials with shaders. They are two completely different things in Sauerbraten. Materials actually have more impact on gameplay than they have on looks. My name is Waterfalls and let us materialize things. Let's get going. Material types. Sauerbraten offers 9 types of materials which do all have their very own and unique purpose. Air, water, lava, clip, glass, Noclip, Gameclip, death and alpha. To place any type of materials, enter edit mode and select any volume in your map. Then press F3. Change over to the tab materials if not already selected and choose any of the materials shown except air. You may notice the selected area is now a semi-transparent colored cubic volume. Materials cannot be modified in the way map geometry can be. All we can do is to change the grid power of our editing cursor. Select the volume and apply a material. We cannot push or pop materials using the mouse wheel, we cannot distort edges, we cannot apply textures, and materials do not cast any shadows. Also, not all materials can be placed in the same location. We will learn more about this when taking a closer look on each of them. A better wording for materials would actually be volumes, as each volume serves a specific gameplay mechanic. To show or hide materials as semi-transparent volumes, you can either use the in-game UI, F3 and uncheck Show Material Volumes, or press M on our keyboard. Air. The default material the entire map is covered with is air, or better said, choosing the air material will delete all materials in the given selection. As an alternative, we can select any material and press delete to replace them with air. However, using delete will also remove all other geometry in our selected volume. Therefore, if you just want to remove a material in a given area, apply the air material in this location. Air has no special gameplay mechanics. Water. Water has several distinct gameplay features. First, the player can swim through it. Second, it makes splashing sounds if a player enters or leaves it. Third, it has its own fog density and color values. Fourth, moving in water is much slower than in air. Fifth, water is the only thing in Sauerbraten which has dynamic reflections. Sixth, players do not drown in water. Seventh, map geometry inside a water volume will receive caustic textures. And eighth, the side of a water volume serves as a waterfall. To change the fog density of water, we can press T and enter /water fog density, while the density can be any value between and including 0 up to an insanely huge number, similar to regular fog. Changing its color can be done using /watercolor RGB, while R, G and B can be any value between and including 0 up to 255. Another importance about water is we can have 4 different types of water, so to speak. Or better said, while the in-game UI does not allow us to do this, we can create 4 different water volumes with different colors and fog densities each. Simply select the volume and enter Edit Met Water 2 to create the volume of the second water volume, Water 3 and Water 4 to create water volume 3 and 4. To change the respective property, we can use the command water fog density and water color RGB with the number of the given type. Remember, the default water volume is not called water 1, but instead just water. Water will replace lava and glass materials if placed in the same location. Lava. Lava is in many things similar to water, but has some noticeable exceptions. Players cannot swim in lava, instead they will just die. However, shallow lava is still walkable, because lava will only affect the player if submerged, while the point of submersion is somewhere around the hips of any player model. Therefore, if not submerged, a player and monster can walk through lava. Just as like with water, we can have 4 different lava volumes, each with their own color and fog properties. Lava fog density will change the respective lava's fog density, while lava color RGB will change its color. Simply enter lava, lava 2, lava 3 or lava 4 for each command. However, changing lava color does not change the color of the lava surface texture, just the fog color. But since players just die in lava, there is no real use to change the fog color or even its density, but in any case we can still do so. Also, lava will not cast light on its own, while the lava surface texture is not affected by light maps and always glowy. Therefore, if you want the lava pit to lit its surroundings, you have to place point lights around it, or maybe even use point lights of radius 0 if you want an entire lava cave to be lit by a lava lake. Lava does also not affect the computation of light maps, as well as it does not cast caustics to intersecting geometry. The site of lava volumes also serves as a lava fall, while it is affected by the same limitations as any other material. Therefore, to make proper lava falls, you may want to model them using actual map geometry, scrolling textures and a dense material applied. Lava will replace water and glass materials if placed in the same location. Clip. Clip is one of many invisible materials and only has impact on gameplay. This volume, if placed anywhere, will create a hitbox, hence players and monsters cannot traverse through it. However, this limitation does not apply to the line of sight of monsters or projectiles. In other words, monsters can see and shoot through clips just as players and bots can. Clips are best to be used to avoid players to jiggle on a rather uneven floor, like some sort of tiled ground where some tiles are simply missing. Therefore, to smooth out walking across such a surface, we can place a flat clip volume instead. Clip will replace Noclip and Gameclip materials. Glass. Glass is another reflective material to simulate, well, glass. However, unlike water, it does not have real-time reflections. By default, glass only reflects the sky, not even the surrounding map or map models, let alone any dynamic objects. The only way of adding additional reflections to a glass surface is by placing env map entities around the map. Env maps are static pre-computed reflections. Each glass surface will then attach itself to the nearest env map entity. This also means if we have a large glass surface which spans across multiple env maps, only one env map will be considered for the glass reflection, which at times can make the reflections look a little bit out of place. We will learn more about entities and env maps in later episodes. As much as with lava and water, we can also have 4 different glass volumes, each with their own color. We can't, however, change their reflectiveness or transparency. Therefore, using /glass color RGB, we can change the base color of each glass volume. Just as with lava and water, use glass, glass 2, glass 3 or glass 4 here. Even though glass is transparent, it does block the line of sight of monsters. Hence, monsters cannot see through glass. Also, glass will replace lava and water materials. Noclip. Noclips, as the name suggests, is the exact opposite of clip volumes, while also invisible. Therefore, any map geometry inside a noclip volume can be traversed, while in contrast to the clip volume, bullets cannot penetrate through a noclip zone unless there is no map geometry inside. As well as monsters cannot see, but they can walk through them. While map models, which do have a hitbox and are inside a noclip volume, do still collide with players, bullets and monsters. Noclip volumes can be used either for secret rooms or to smooth out an uneven surface like a broken wall with lots of tiny debris in front of it, so we can avoid the player to jiggle over such a floor. Noclip will replace clip and Gameclip materials. A fun side effect of Noclip materials is if the player is chased by a monster and stands still inside a wall with a Noclip material, the monster will not shoot, but they will still run at the player, which can cause them to circle the player for all eternity. Gameclip. Gameclip is basically the same as regular clip, but it depends on the game mode used. In single player it blocks monsters as like regular clip does. In multiplayer modes it can prevent players from picking up flags, even their own, or capturing a base, but does not prevent players to traverse it. Probably one of the least used materials in general, but for the completeness of this tutorial, there you have it. Death. Death is a volume which instantly kills players and monsters as soon as they intersect with it. Death volumes can be used to prevent players from getting out of bounds, like for example if they fall off a platform, or to create a deadly environment which are not made out of lava, maybe spikes in a pit or similar, or to create a toxic room filled with radioactive waste, a pit with deadly snakes or scorpions, you name it. Also, death volumes are invisible to players and monsters. Alpha. In the texturing episode we've already talked about alpha values for textures. Well, this is exactly where they come to shine. If we place an alpha volume around the map, any intersecting geometry will become translucent, where the texture's alpha value tells by how much. If no alpha value was set to a texture upon loading it, or no V alpha value has been set, all faces inside an alpha volume will become 50% transparent. Selecting map geometry and enter /v alpha followed by any floating point value from 0 up to 1, we can change the alpha value of the selected region on the fly. Any geometry inside an alpha material will not cast or receive any shadows. Hence, these volumes are completely ignored while calculating light maps and for dynamic shadows, even if we set the V alpha value to 1. Monsters and bots can see through an alpha volume except if there is any map geometry or other material inside the alpha volume which would block their line of sight instead. Waterfalls. While we have already learned that water volumes will have waterfalls on their sides, we cannot build more detailed waterfalls this way, as the material cannot be sculpted unlike regular map geometry. A workaround is to build waterfalls using actual map geometry. Apply a water texture to it, set the V alpha and V scroll properties to make the texture flow and also to make the surface semi-transparent. Then apply the Noclip material so the player can walk through the waterfall, while also covering it in the alpha material so the V alpha property actually does something. If you then also want the player to be able to swim, we can fill the inside of our waterfall with actual water material, while maybe also placing some particles around it to make it look like the water actually splashes down. We could also make these waterfalls reflective if we use a texture with the bump and shader applied and place environment maps around our waterfall. We will learn more about actual shaders, particles and even sounds in later episodes. Also keep in mind, reflective water built with map geometry and a reflective shader applied does only have static reflections coming from environment maps. Therefore, the same limitation as with glass materials apply here. Outro. So much for materials. Even though they are very simple on the surface, there is still a lot to know about them. I hope you found this video helpful and can now use materials to your advantage. Thank you for watching and see you in the next episode.